Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Secretary, for your service to our great country. I'm a military veteran. I served 20 years in the military. Chairman Womack's a veteran. Secretary Zinke's a veteran. My question is on homeless veterans. My first question. One of the issues I care deeply about is homeless veterans. Back in 2024, HUD identified that on any given night, there are more than 32,000 homeless veterans. That's 32,000 too many. This issue hits close to home in my district in rural parts like Alpine and Van Horn, where there's little to no affordable housing supply, and in urban areas like San Antonio and El Paso, the housing availability for homeless veterans through HUD is often substandard or inadequate. Secretary Turner, would you be willing to visit my district so we can work together on this issue and find solutions to address the challenges facing both rural and urban homeless veterans?
Yes.
Hey Patriots, welcome back to the channel where we stand for faith, family, freedom, and most of all, truth. Today I'm reacting to a congressional hearing where Congressman Tony Gonzalez, a military veteran himself, laid out some hard truths about the crisis facing our veterans, foster kids, and first responders. He came with facts, he came with heart, and frankly, he came with more courage than we've seen from most of Washington lately. But let me tell you right now, folks, none of this should even be a problem in the greatest country on earth.
Yes, sir, Congressman Gonzalez. Thank you. It's great to meet you. I do commit to visiting you in your district to come up with these viable solutions, and also working with my colleague, Secretary Collins, as it pertains to veterans and veterans homelessness.
Thank you for that. My next will be a comment on the community development block grants. The community development block grants have been a vital tool in my district, especially in the colonias. I mean, these are communities that don't have running water. It's absolutely atrocious, the conditions they're in. They're in predominantly rural, unincorporated communities that often lack less than basic infrastructure like running water, waste system, electricity, and paved roads. But I'd also urge the HUD to take a serious look at preserving this program or making sure that it just isn't completely removed. With the right safeguards in place, I believe we got to find the waste and the abuse. And I love the idea of how do you change it, right? If it's not working, how do you fix it? So to that, continuing to find critical infrastructure improvements in this community through that program, I think is important. My next question is on foster youth. One of the things I was encouraged to see in HUD's budget requests was the inclusion of $25 million for foster youth to independence grants. As a member of the Congressional Caucus on Foster Youth, I recognize how critical these programs are for helping youth transition out of the foster care system. Last year, I passed a bill in the House, Find and Protect Your Foster Act, so clearly it's important. My question is this: is HUD actively helping to track the number of foster youth who experience homelessness, and what steps is HUD taking to ensure vulnerable populations don't fall through these cracks?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Congressman. And we too are glad and excited that we have money in the budget to make sure that our youth that are aging out of foster care have a solid ground to land on. As we know that being in foster care is very difficult for our youth. And when I was in the House of Representatives sitting on the committee dealing with foster care and our youth in foster care, so I too have a heart for this, and so happy to be working with the First Lady and her team and you and your team on how we help from a HUD perspective these youth that are aging out of foster care to make sure that they have safe and sustainable places to stay and get on a good trajectory for their lives.
I appreciate you making a priority, and I look forward. Once again, I like the idea of, hey, how do we reimagine things? And I think that this is a positive part of that reimagination. Very personal to me. My wife was a foster child, and so I want to make sure that we work together to see that program get off the ground and grow and be productive. My last question is on law enforcement housing. I represent nearly half of the overall southern border, places like Eagle Pass, Del Rio, El Paso. My district has been ground zero for this border crisis, and as a result, we've seen a large surge of law enforcement personnel from CBP, National Guard deployed to this area. But in many cases, these are small rural communities, and there's simply not enough housing supply to meet the need. Out in West Texas, for example, I've been fighting to secure housing for first responders. My question is this: given the president's commitment to supporting first responders, What is HUD doing to ensure that first responders and those that are deployed to these areas have affordable and adequate housing?
Yes, sir, Congressman, and thank you for that. You know, I too have a heart, and it's top priority of our first responders and all Americans to make sure that they have affordable, sustainable places to stay. And obviously, you know, we have our FHA program, and the president too is a priority of his. And so we look forward to working with you and your colleagues and your staff on how we can ensure and help our first responders as they too look for housing to purchase and rent in your district and
Thank you
around
for
the
that.
country.
Thank you for that, because as we surge these people to these areas, there's just no housing, and that has been one of the takebacks. You can't just put pieces on a board. You got to drill down a little bit. So thank you again for your testimony. I look forward to working with you. And Chairwoman, I yield back.
Let's break it down. Congressman Gonzalez dropped a bombshell right out of the gate. 32,000 homeless veterans on any given night in America. Let me say that again, 32,000. These are men and women who raised their right hand, took an oath, wore the uniform, and risked it all so the rest of us could live free. And now they're sleeping on the streets? Meanwhile, we've got billions flowing across the border, billions more getting sent overseas, and every special interest group under the sun lining up at the federal money trough. But our veterans? They get what's left over, if anything at all. This is beyond negligence. It's immoral. Gonzalez represents areas like Alpine, Van Horn, El Paso, San Antonio, places where housing is either non-existent or substandard. Let me tell you something as a Texan and a patriot. Small-town America always gets the short end of the stick when it comes to federal programs. They want to dump illegal immigrants into your town, send troops to guard the border, but when it comes time to provide housing, sorry, not in the budget. That's government logic for you. Credit where credit is due. Secretary Turner actually committed to visiting the district. That's good. That's a start. But talk is cheap. How many times have we seen these DC bureaucrats make a trip, shake some hands, grab a few photo ops, and then go back to Washington and forget all about it? We need accountability, not promises, results. Here's a jaw-dropper. Gonzalez talked about American communities, right here on U.S. soil, that don't have running water, no electricity, no sewage, dirt roads. Let me ask you, is this Venezuela, Somalia? No, this is South Texas. And while these Americans live in third world conditions, the Biden administration is handing out smartphones, hotel rooms, and debit cards to people who crossed our border illegally. Where is the justice in that? This part hit me personally. Gonzalez fought to get $25 million into HUD's budget for foster youth aging out of the system. These kids are some of the most vulnerable people in our country, and they're being thrown into the streets the moment they turn 18. I applaud Gonzalez for making this a priority, especially since he said his own wife was a foster child. That's the kind of personal connection we need in government, not just career politicians checking boxes.
But again, it shouldn't be this hard. The American people want to help foster kids, not fund endless wars and wasteful pet projects. So why is Washington always dragging its feet? Here's where it all comes together. The border is a disaster. Biden's open border policy has flooded Texas with illegal crossings, and now National Guard and CBP agents are being deployed to rural towns that don't have any housing left. We're literally sending brave men and women into the line of duty and saying, good luck finding a place to live. This isn't just bad planning, it's a failure of leadership. We've got firemen, Border Patrol, National Guardsmen, heroes sleeping in trailers or commuting for hours because there's no housing left, and the government's only just now getting around to noticing? You know what Washington needs? A priority reset. Take care of our veterans, our children, and our defenders before anyone else. Period. Secretary Turner said all the right things. He talked about affordable housing, FHA programs, priorities, and partnerships. And I want to believe him, I really do. But we've heard this song before. What I want to see is follow-through. Results. Concrete progress. I want to see the colonias get water. I want to see homeless veterans off the streets. I want to see foster kids with a roof over their heads. And I want to see first responders housed in the communities they serve. Until then, it's all just words. So what can we do about it? We raise our voices. We show up. We vote out the do-nothing politicians and replace them with veterans, business owners, and people who actually give a damn. Support candidates who put America first. Not the UN, not foreign governments, not illegal aliens. America. Thank you, Congressman Gonzalez, for speaking truth in that hearing. We need more leaders like you, veterans, fighters, men of honor. To the rest of you in Congress and HUD, enough talk, time to act. Take care of our people, or step aside and let someone else do it. If you stand with our veterans, our kids, and our law enforcement heroes, then hit that like button. Subscribe for more common sense, no-nonsense truth. And drop a comment, what's the biggest housing crisis issue in your state? Until next time, stay strong, stay free, and as always, God bless America.